Choppers with CBS. Okay. And good morning, this is Jim Smith in Chopper 2. We are following the parade of ships, the arrival of Fleet Week 2024, watching as the last U.S. Navy ship makes its way past the Statue of Liberty. We've seen that there's a Hi, go ahead, Gus. Okay, I'm on Alpine 210, 210, and I'm on 6 megahertz. Let me know if you want me to switch it to 8. And we're watching now as the parade of ships now making its way up the Hudson River. This is the last ship in the parade passing by the Statue of Liberty. Total this year, 2 U.S. Navy ships, 2 ships from Germany, 3 Coast Guard ships, as well as 4 small ships from the Naval Academy. And it's the last ship now making its way past Statue of Liberty. Bring you up the Hudson now. See the parade making its way up towards the Intrepid. As I mentioned, there are 2 ships from Germany this year attending Fleet Week in New York City. This is one of those ships from Germany. And just ahead of that, the second one. Yes. All right, Gus, let me switch it over to 8. And once again, we're watching as the parade of ships, Fleet Week 2024, making its way up the Hudson River. This is one of the U.S. Navy ships that is leading the parade this morning. Just over a half hour ago, just before 9:30 this morning, made its way underneath the Verrazano Bridge, followed by the several other ships, again involved in the parade this year. Total 11 ships specifically for Fleet Week. 2 U.S. Navy ships, 2 ships from Germany, 3 Coast Guard ships, as well as 4 patrol boats from the Naval Academy. And again, we're watching it as the lead ship making its way up the Hudson River. Earlier we saw as all of the ships passed by the Statue of Liberty, a Coast Guard boat shooting off its water cannons to salute the ships as they passed by. And now this is the lead ship making its way past Chelsea Piers. Most of the ships will be parked on the west side, Pier 88, Pier 90. Of course, there will be many events through the Memorial Day weekend. Some of the ships will be available for open tours, as as well as various other activities around the city. Again, we're just getting in position now to watch the lead ship as it passes by Chelsea Piers, Hoboken, New Jersey, just off to the other side of the Hudson River. There have been many police boats, Coast Guard boats, fire boats, and some tugboats out to greet the ships as they make their way in. And we expect that within the next 20 to 30 minutes, most of the ships will be arriving along the west side, and for those ships that will be docking at Pier 88 and Pier 90, they will be pulling into position. Take you back down the Hudson River once again. See the Coast Guard ship just behind. And many of the sailors still out on the deck of the ships. Earlier they were saluting as they were passing by some smaller ships that had been displaying the American flag. Again, the two German ships that are attending Fleet Week this year, those two in the lead. The last major ship, large ship, the U.S. Navy, now passing by just off of Battery Park. Again, you can see many smaller boats in the Hudson River, in the harbor, to greet ships coming in for Fleet Week. Many police boats, fire boats, Coast Guard, as well as some private boats as well. This is an amphibious assault ship, the U.S. Navy. You can see it has helicopters out on the deck, and again, many of the sailors lining the perimeter of the deck as well. Again, we'll bring you back up the Hudson River as we pass by once again the two ships from Germany that are attending this week's festivities. And just ahead of them, one of the three Coast Guard boats. Now, there's one boat actively participating in the parade at this moment. There are two others that are already stationed here. We have not seen them in the harbor yet. It's possible they could be joining the parade at some point. These 5 ships that you see all came in off the ocean earlier this morning. Just before 8 o'clock this morning is when we were able to get our first glimpse of them, several miles off of Breezy Point. Eventually they made their way up towards the Verrazano Bridge to where we are now, with the ships making their way up the Hudson River. And then back to the lead ship from the U.S. Navy. And right now it's in the Hudson River, almost directly above the Lincoln Tunnel, so not much longer. The lead ship will be making its way up towards the area of the Intrepid. Pier 88, Pier 90 is where most of the ships, again, will be docking for the weekend. Several of the ships will be open for tours. In particular, Saturday, it does appear that is when most of the ships will be open for tours, as well as various other events that will be going on around the city, as well as Times Square. There'll be some events on the Intrepid. You Museum as well. And just take a moment, just watch the ships as they make their way up the Hudson River. And if you're just joining us, we are following the parade of ships. Fleet Week 2024 in New York City has officially begun. Parade of ships underway. We're watching as the 5 ships that made their way in from the ocean earlier this morning are making their way now up the Hudson River. 2 U.S. Navy ships, 3 Coast Guard ships, and 2 ships from Germany participating in the events, as well as 4 additional smaller ships from the Naval Academy. Now, 2 of the Coast Guard ships that are participating were already here. So we had 5 in total that came in off the ocean early this morning, just before 8 o'clock is when we got our first glimpse of them, about 4 or 5 miles off of Breezy Point. Eventually they made their way past Coney Island, underneath the Verrazano Bridge, and where we are now, parading up the Hudson River. By the Statue of Liberty, there was a Coast Guard ship spraying its water cannons as a salute for the ships. As a matter of fact, it's still down by the Statue of Liberty at this time. I can take you over there quickly and show you that. And the salute's still underway. We believe the last 4 ships in the parade, the ships from the Naval Academy, are now passing by that Coast Guard ship at the Statue of Liberty. Many events scheduled for the weekend. Some of the ships will be open for tours. There will be concerts, a movie taking place on the deck of the Intrepid on Friday evening. In addition to the boats that have been greeting the ships this year, we can see some military helicopters as well now making their way up the Hudson River. Eventually, most of the ships will be docking near the Intrepid, Pier 88 and Pier 90 along the west side. And every year when we see the parade of ships, it always draws extra attention to the Hudson River. We've seen numerous police, fire, Coast Guard boats, even tugboats out to welcome the various ships in for the events this year, but as well as private watercraft as well. We also see an increase in that, as well as private aircraft that come in to take in the sights, sightsee down the Hudson River, and get a glimpse of the ships coming in for Fleet Week. I'm going to take you back to the last ship again. The ships from the U.S. Navy, an amphibious assault ship, just about to make its way over the area of the Holland Tunnel. Holland Tunnel running below the Hudson River, just about where that ship is now. And again, the lead ship just passed by the Intrepid area. Sometimes we do see in past years some of the ships will continue up as far as the George Washington Bridge. Others will simply stop around the piers on the west side and wait for the tugboats to put them into position where they'll be for the weekend. Of course, everything kicks off today, and everything will wrap up Tuesday morning when we watch the ships leave the area. 7 days total for all of the events for Fleet Week. Again, there'll be various events, including concerts, a movie screening on the Intrepid throughout the weekend. And again, we're watching now as the ships are making their way up the Hudson River. And once again, if you're just joining us, the Parade of Ships, Fleet Week 2024, New York City, currently underway. Lead ship in the parade just passed by the area of the Intrepid. In years past, we have seen some of the ships continue as far north on the Hudson River as the George Washington Bridge. Several of them will be docking at Pier 88, Pier 90, so we expect those ships that will be docking there for the weekend will be pulling to position within the next half hour or so, possibly a little bit longer depending on how many ships will be docking here. There you can see a Coast Guard ship just behind that, some military helicopters orbiting the area as well, escort by police boats, Coast Guard, and even some fire boats at times. Now, the main part of the parade composed of 5 ships, 2 from the U.S. Navy, 1 Coast Guard ship, and what we're looking at now, 1 of 2 ships from Germany. 2 additional Coast Guard ships were already here, so 5 ships in total that we watched earlier this morning come in off the ocean just before 8 o'clock this morning. So those 5 ships several miles off of Breezy Point, making their way past Coney Island. Eventually they went underneath the Verrazano Bridge. Once all the ships got up to the area of the Statue of Liberty, there was a Coast Guard boat shooting off multiple water cannons as a salute. There were also 4 smaller ships from the Naval Academy that are participating in the events. As we take you back down the Hudson River, we can see again now the 2nd ship that is joining this year's events from Germany. That'll be coming into your picture. Here we go. And it has been typical in years past for the events of Fleet Week to draw ships from other countries. You can see the helicopter now on the rear of that German ship. And the last major ship, as far as large ships go, one of the U.S. Navy's amphibious assault ships, the USS Bataan. Earlier we were looking at the sailors lined up on the decks of all the ships at various times, saluting as they passed by American flags. And as we go in for a closer look at this one, you can see the helicopters out on the flight deck. Once again, taking you back up the Hudson River, it does appear some of the ships will be continuing farther north past the Intrepid. We've seen that in years past where some of the ships will continue north, sometimes as far as the George Washington Bridge, while some of the other ships further back in the parade will stop and maneuver into position at the piers on the west side. And most of the ships will be docking at Pier 88 and Pier 90. Again, in total, 2 ships from the U.S. Navy, 2 ships from Germany, 3 Coast Guard vessels, as well as 4 ships from the U.S. Naval Academy, with the 5 largest ships participating in the parade this morning. 2 of the Coast Guard ships were already on location, as well as the ships from the Naval Academy. We did see them earlier this morning out in the area of Gravesend Bay. Our first glimpse of the ships was through the morning haze just before 8 o'clock this morning. We saw them coming off the ocean about 5 miles off of Breezy Point, where they eventually made their way past Coney Island underneath the Verrazano Statue of Liberty, where there was a Coast Guard ship shooting off 8 water cannons as a salute for all the vessels coming in. Our Coast Guard and police boats, also tugboats, lining the way, of course, as those larger ships maneuver into position along the piers. The tugboats will be crucial to that, to help steer them into their parking spots for the weekend. There'll be various events around, including concerts and a movie screening on the deck of the Intrepid. And for now, once again, we'll just watch as the parade of ships Fleet Week 2024 makes its way up the Hudson River. Okay, that'll be about 10. And if you are just joining us, we have been following the parade of ships, Fleet Week 2024 in New York City. We're watching as the last of the 5 large ships is making its way up the Hudson River, the USS Bataan amphibious assault ship. That is currently just off of Chelsea Piers. As I mentioned, it is the last in the 5 large ships that are making their way in the parade this year. We'll take you up the Hudson River and show you the additional ships participating. 2 ships from Germany, that is one of them that you see passing through your picture right now, just off the area of the Lincoln Tunnel. The second one a little bit further up the Hudson River from there. It does appear most of the ships this year are continuing farther north on the Hudson River. We have seen that in years past where some of the ships will go up as far as the George Washington Bridge before they turn around and go to their assigned piers where they'll park for the weekend, dock for the weekend. Just ahead of that, one of the Coast Guard ships participating in the parade and another U.S. Navy ship just ahead of that. Most of the ships will be docking Pier 88, Pier 90, the area around the Intrepid Museum. For us, this all started just before 8 o'clock this morning when we got our first glimpse of the ships coming in past Breezy Point through the morning haze off the ocean. Ships eventually making their way past the Verrazano Bridge, the Statue of Liberty, where there was a Coast Guard ship with its water cannons going with a salute. All of the ships getting an escort by police, Coast Guard, even fire boats and tugboats escorting the ships up the Hudson River. Now in total there are 11 ships in the events for Fleet Week, 2 from the U.S. Navy, 2 from Germany, 3 from the Coast Guard, as well as 4 additional ships from the U.S. Naval Academy, with the 5 largest currently participating in the parade. And just behind that, we're watching now by the area of the World Trade Center, Battery Park. We can see off in the distance the 4 ships from the Naval Academy starting to make their way up the Hudson River as well. And if you're doing the math on these ships involved, there are 2 additional Coast Guard ships that were already in position. They are based in this area, so they were already in the area. They did not come in off the ocean with the rest of the parade. Again, we'll just go back up the Hudson River again. The ships will be, for the most part, docking Pier 88, Pier 90. And again, one of the U.S. Navy ships, the USS Bataan, amphibious assault ship. Sailors lined up around the deck of the ship. And we take a look as the helicopters are out on the flight deck as well. And we'll continue up the Hudson River, get a glimpse as the rest of the ships are now making their way to the north along the Hudson River. And watching now is one of the ships from Germany, just about to pass the area of the Intrepid. 3 other ships ahead of that, the other ship from Germany, another ship from the U.S. Navy, as well as the Coast Guard, currently making their way up the Hudson River. It's actually been several years since we've seen the majority of the ships continue all the way up towards the George Washington Bridge. So obviously a treat for people who live farther north of Manhattan, as well as into Hudson and Bergen County, New Jersey, being able to get a glimpse of those large ships as they make their way up the Hudson River. In years past, we've seen, or typically seen, a majority of those ships stop as they get to the area of the Intrepid and pull into position for the weekend. But again, at least 3 of the ships continuing up the Hudson River. So again, you live farther north, upper Manhattan, getting into the area in Cliffside Park, Fort Lee, New Jersey, you should be able to see those ships as well before they turn around and eventually dock for the weekend. So what we're looking at right now is one of the ships from Germany, and it does appear that the tugboat's now pulling alongside. They'll help guide the ship into position at the docks, piers on the west side. Pier 88, Pier 90, where most of the ships will be docking for the weekend. Of course, Fleet Week will run until next Tuesday. That is when we will see the ships depart the area. So in the meantime, we'll see events around the city. In particular, many events scheduled for Times Square, but as well as the city itself, multiple events have been scheduled. There's also going to be a movie screening on the deck of the Intrepid Friday evening. Bring you back down the river once again. The last of the 5 large ships participating in the parade of ships this morning. The USS Bataan, the amphibious assault ship. You can see the tugboats have also pulled into position alongside that as well. So it does appear the last German ship and the USS Bataan will be docking soon along the west side, while the other 3 large ships, the additional ship from Germany, another U.S. Navy ship, and Coast Guard ship continuing up the Hudson River towards the area of the George Washington Bridge. We expect by the time they get to the bridge, they'll turn around at that point or shortly after and then circle back to this area where they eventually will dock along the west side. And if you're just joining us, we are watching as the Parade of Ships is underway, Fleet Week 2024 in New York City. 3 ships leading the parade, 1 U.S. Navy ship, a Coast Guard ship, and a ship from Germany making their way up the Hudson River. We expect that they'll continue up towards the area of the George Washington Bridge before they will turn around, make their way back down the Hudson River towards the area of the Intrepid Museum. Most of the ships will be docked at Piers 88 and Pier 90 for the weekend. We first saw the ships coming in off the ocean about 5 miles off of Breezy Point just before 8 o'clock this morning. We watched as they made their way into the harbor underneath the Verrazano Bridge, eventually passing by the Statue of Liberty, where a Coast Guard ship had 8 water cannons going in full force as a salute to those ships as they made their way into the Hudson River. Now we're watching as one of the ships from Germany is brought into place by tugboats just behind that. One of the U.S. Navy ships that's also participating in this weekend's events, the USS Bataan. We were watching as the tugboats were escorting that as well. It does appear both of these ships will be getting moved into position near the Intrepid very soon. In all, there are 11 ships that will be participating in the events for Fleet Week this year. 2 U.S. Navy ships, 2 from Germany, 3 Coast Guard ships, and 4 smaller ships from the U.S. Naval Academy, with the 5 largest all participating in the parade of ships. We have been following this all morning long. We'll have more on this coming up on CBS 2 news at noon, as well as continuing coverage on CBS New York. This is Jim Smith, Chopper 2. Thank you for joining us.